former U.S. Secretary of State showed his cousin 4 aliens in a jar under the Capitol building, he claimed. This is not the first time when someone in power shares a story where he or she either encountered UFO or was abducted by aliens. Roswell UFO crash started a lot of alien conspiracies, but do you know that many years before that incident, dead alien bodies had been stored in a container in the basement of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C.? The story first came into the limelight in 2002 when William Jones, the director of the Ohio branch of MUFON, received an interesting letter from a woman named Lucille Andrew, the daughter of Reverend Turner Hamilton Holt. The letter held the top secret information told by Holt to his daughter about one of his meetings with his cousin Cardell Hull, who had been the U.S. Secretary of State from 1933 to 44 and was also elected as U.S. Senator from 1931 to 1937. He had also received the Nobel Peace Prize and was one of the people who established the United Nations. The letter contained the information that Hull would never want to come out until he was alive, when he was alive, but at the same time he could not stop himself sharing it with his cousin Holt, who served at the Shenandoah Christian Church in Greenwich, Ohio. And according to the letter, one day when Holt was in Washington, D.C., he was contacted by Hull, who wanted to show him something extremely secret and asked him to never disclose it to anybody. Holt agreed, and Hull took him to a place under the Capitol building where he showed him an amazing sight. There is no exact information about the time frame of the secret, but Hull served under the presidency of Franklin D. Roosevelt until his resignation in 1944. It was a huge room with 4 glass containers. In each container, there were bodies of dead humanoids in a special liquid, presumably formaldehyde, about which Holt and Hull had no idea, and according to the description of their body structure, they were clearly not humans. There was also a wrecked round craft in the adjoining room. My father wanted my sister and I to make this information known long after he and Cordell were dead because he felt it was a very important bit of information. Lucille wrote, "We had researched your group MUFON and felt that it was a most reliable group in the country. We hope that you will research and search this information. The jars were creatures in formaldehyde, and the wrecked craft are somewhere." Cordell said they were afraid that they would start a panic if the public found out about it. Sincerely, Lucille Andrew, Ashland, Ohio, it said. The letter said that incident happened in 1939, years before the stories of UFOs and alien encounters hit the newspapers. There's no doubt that Cordell Hull was one of the greatest politicians in U.S. history, and according to his credibility, it's difficult not to believe his story. Holt married a woman named Vina Mae Clark, and they both had 3 daughters. The 2 daughters claimed that Holt had told them about the creatures, but he had never said from where they came from. He said the color of this material was not the color he had seen before, but for the lack of a better word, he used silver. Reverend Holt was not the sort of person to make up such a wild story, and the sisters feel that by telling the story, they are following their father's wishes. Barbara Wallenett, a curator at U.S. Capitol building, said she had never heard about these creatures being stored in the Capitol, but she did confirm that there was a sub-basement that was divided into storage rooms back then. When Hull left his job, he wrote his memoirs, but there is no mention of this story in his papers in the Library of Congress. Maybe we will never know the truth of this event, but there are lots of conspiracies about the strongest people in history and their links with the aliens. Perhaps the most interesting and confirmed set of high positions is the case of contact between U.S. President Dwight Eisenhower and extraterrestrials. These meetings are confirmed by statements of Philip Schneider, a civil engineer and geologist. Partial information was also provided by Gerald Light, head of the Research Fund. Sometimes UFO enthusiasts also link the death of Kennedy with UFOs. On the other hand, there are people who deny such stories and call them fake or fantasy. And this is on House and Wise by Vicky Verma. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.